Fairfax, 2009, Filipino-American Corazon Sandoval Foley. Today's program is scheduled for June 2011, and it will begin a series I call Travel Tales, in which I will share with you stories of the travel abroad of the Foley family, Fairfax County residents for over 30 years. Our Foley family had served with the U.S. Department of State for over 35 years, and we had lived and traveled extensively, mainly in Asia. When my husband Mike and I retired in 2007, we decided to learn more about Europe, and we have been traveling once or twice yearly. So I decided to develop this travel series to share photos and videos of memorable trips abroad, along with the history of the countries we visited. We begin this series with Budapest, Hungary, that we visited in September of 2009. Celtic tribes ruled the area until AD 100, when the Romans established the town of Aquincum near modern-day Budapest. The Romans ruled the area for 300 years. The map shows the ancient city of Aquincum, situated on the northeastern borders of the Pannonia province within the Roman Empire. Aquincum was the capital city of Pannonia and had around 30,000 to 40,000 inhabitants by the end of the 2nd century, covering a significant part of the area today known as the Óbuda district within Budapest. Roman rule over Pannonia ended around the year 410 AD, when the Huns overran the region that became known as Hungary. After the death of Attila the Hun in 453, the area was ruled by the Goths, Longobards, and the Avars. The year 896 AD is an important milestone in the history of Hungary. 896 was the year when the Magyars, ancestors of the modern Hungarians, migrated from the Urals, led by Prince Arpad. The nomad Magyar tribes were later converted into Christianity by Saint Stephen, the first king of Hungary from 975 to 1083. The Magyar dynasty of Prince Arpad ruled until 1301, when King Andras III died without leaving an heir. The throne then passed to a series of foreign kings, but the country flourished. During the reign of Matthias Corvinus, 1458 to 90, it became the greatest monarchy in Middle Europe. Renaissance bloomed throughout Hungary, but all was soon eclipsed by a series of Turkish invasions. In 1526, the Turks defeated the Hungarian forces at Mohacs, and in 1541, they marched into Buda, which became the capital of Ottoman Hungary. To quell the Turkish advance, the Austrians, under Ferdinand of Habsburg, occupied the western or Royal Hungary, while the Central Plains remained under Ottoman control. In 1686, the Holy League, led by the Habsburg, reconquered Buda, and the Turks had to leave the country. Under Austrian rule, Hungary enjoyed economic prosperity, but nationalism was cruelly suppressed, culminating in a major uprising in 1848. After crushing the rebellion, Emperor Franz Joseph sought to unite the two nations and created the dual monarchy of Austro-Hungary in 1867. The city of Budapest itself was not officially created until 1873, when the towns of Óbuda, Pest, and Buda united. Following World War I, the Habsburg Empire was dismantled. Hungary lost 2/3 of its territory to Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, and Romania. It was to regain those territories that Hungary backed Germany in World War II, but in 1945, Budapest was taken by the Russians. The subsequent communist rule was upheld, most visibly in 1956, when demonstrations were crushed by Soviet tanks. And here is a photo of the memorial to the 1956 uprising near the parliament in Budapest. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, free elections took place in 1989. Since then, the country has joined the European Union, and traces of communism have continued to disappear. The change was palpable as we entered the border of Hungary from Austria during our tour in 2009. It was remarkable to see open borders between Hungary and its neighbors. Here is a photo of the border between Hungary and Austria with no guards, and we sailed through very smoothly indeed. Our first stop in Budapest was the Gellert Hill, where we enjoyed panoramic views of Budapest. Gellert Hill is a 235 meters or 771-foot high hill overlooking the Danube in Budapest. It was called Gellert Hill from the 15th century onwards, referring to the legend about the death of Saint Gerard. The saintly Venetian bishop was killed by the pagans during the Great Rebellion in 1046. He was put in a barrel and rolled down into the deep from the top of the hill. Gellert Hill saw action in the Second World War and the 1956 Hungarian Revolution, when Soviet tanks fired down into the city from the hill. Gellert Hill is a most beautiful natural formation of the Buda Bank, from which one can enjoy the magnificent views over Budapest, the celebrated views of its city center bisected by the Danube. The famous Duna, Danube River, flows from the west through capital city Budapest on its way to the southern frontier. Just north of Budapest, the Danube forms a gentle heart-shaped curve along which lie romantic and historic towns of the region called the Danube Bend. We enjoyed a wonderful boat cruise of the Danube. There are 7 road bridges that span the Danube in Budapest, of which the chain bridge is the oldest and most beautiful. Before it was built in 1849, the river could be crossed only by ferry or by a pontoon bridge that had to be removed when ice blocks began floating downstream in winter. Both river banks offer many sights. Right at the start of the Danube cruise grace the graceful tower of the Matthias Church and the Fisherman's Bastion that call attention to the historic castle district in Buda. The modern-style National Theater was another wonderful attraction. The highlight of the Danube cruise was the spectacular view of the Parliament, dominating the Pest shore. Mirrored in the Danube, the facade is neo-Gothic. However, the ground plan follows Baroque conventions with a magnificent dome at the center. It is Hungary's largest building. The grace and dignity of its long facade and 24 slender towers with spacious arcades and high windows balancing its vast central dome lend this living landmark a refreshingly Baroque spatial effect. The exterior is lined with 90 statues of great figures in Hungarian history. The corbels are ornamented by 242 allegorical statues. With its height of 96 meters, or 315 feet, it is one of the 2 tallest buildings in Budapest, along with St. Stephen's Basilica. The number 96 refers to the Magyar arrival in 896 AD. The Parliament was designed by the Hungarian architect Imre Steindl and built by 1,000 workers between 1885 and 1904. Budapest was united from 3 cities in 1873, and 7 years later, the National Assembly resolved to establish a new representative parliament building, expressing the sovereignty of the nation. The greatest artists of the day decorated the interior of the building, and there are great ornamental stairs, spectacular ceiling frescoes, stained glass, mosaic paintings, statues, and tapestries. But the most sacred treasure in the Parliament since early 2000 has been the Hungary's royal crown, which reposes with other relics under the cupola in the central domed hall. The Holy Crown was made of gold and decorated with 19 enamel pictures, as well as semi-precious stones, genuine pearls, and almandine. Also known as the Crown of St. Stephen, it was the coronation crown used by the Kingdom of Hungary for most of its existence. No king of Hungary is regarded as having been truly legitimate without being crowned with it. The photo shows Emperor Franz Joseph wearing the royal crown of Hungary. The royal crown symbolizes a halo, signifying that the wearer rules by divine right. According to popular tradition, Saint Stephen I held up the crown during the coronation of the first king of Hungary in the year 1000 AD as an offering to the Virgin Mary to seal a divine contract. However, according to scientific research, accepted also by the Hungarian Catholic Church, this crown was likely created during the reign of Bela III from 1172 to 1196. Nevertheless, it is known as the crown of Saint Stephen and has been regarded, even by the communist governments, as the legal symbol of Hungarian sovereignty and unbroken statehood. In 1945, the fleeing Hungarian army handed over the crown and its accompanying regalia to the Americans, rather than have them fall into Soviet hands. They were restored to Hungary in 1978. In addition to the Parliament, we visited two historic churches, the Basilica of St. Stephen in Pest and Matthias Church in Buda, beside the memorable Fisherman's Bastion. St. Stephen's Basilica is a Roman Catholic basilica named in honor of St. Stephen I of Hungary, the first king of Hungary whose preserved right hand is housed in the reliquary. Equal in height of 96 meters with the Hungarian Parliament building, its architectural style is Neo-Renaissance with a Greek cross ground plan. The facade is anchored by two large bell towers, with the southern tower holding Hungary's biggest bell, weighing over 9 tons. It took 54 years and 3 architects to build the Basilica of St. Stephen. In 1845, Joseph Hild made the designs, but work was delayed until 1851 because of the 1848 revolution. After the death of Hild, Miklos Ibl, designer of the Opera House, took over the construction. In 1868, the dome collapsed, so Ibl drew up new plans, reworking Hild's neoclassical design into a neo-Renaissance style. Ibl died in 1891, and Joseph Krauser finished the basilica in 1905. During World War II, the building suffered heavy damage, and the long years of reconstruction started in the 1980s. 4 pillars hold the massive structure, and a fresco of God the Father dominates the center of the cupola. In the main altar, the statue of St. Stephen was carved out of Carrara marble, with Archangel Gabriel holding the crown above the head of the king. To the left of the main altar is a small chapel, the Holy Rite of St. Stephen. It holds Hungarian Catholicism's holiest relic, the preserved right hand of King Stephen, that is kept in an ornate glass cabinet. We also visited the Matthias Church in the Castle Hill on the Buda side. According to church tradition, it was originally built in Romanesque style in 1015. The current building was constructed in the florid late Gothic style in the second half of the 14th century and was extensively restored in the late 19th century. Officially named as the Church of Our Lady, it has been popularly named after King Matthias Corvinus, who ordered the transformation of its original southern tower. The Matthias Church is mainly a neo-Gothic reconstruction dating from 1874 to 96. Most of the original church was lost when the Turks turned it into their great mosque in 1541.